they're going up and up and up, aren't they? And no, I am not talking about Reform's popularity or someone like Vanessa Felt's dress size. And no, I'm definitely not talking about Keir Starmer's nose up Zelensky's. Anyway, unfortunately, what is going up is going to affect us all quite quickly. And when it last went up, if I remember rightly, it kind of replaced banks with food banks. So what am I going on about then? Well, according to this article, it says that there's another blow for shoppers as bread, eggs, cheese and butter prices soar after a crippling budget tax hikes. And yeah, I could be wrong, but I often think back to what the parties promised in their election campaigns, especially, of course, Labour, because they are unfortunately our government. And if I remember rightly, I'm pretty sure they said something like we won't be raising people's taxes and things becoming much cheaper, or words to those effect. However, since they've been in, we've been seeing the exact opposite, haven't we? Surely meaning this bad news after bad news as far as what Labour are concerned, and the sooner they are out, the better. But when is all this likely to happen? Well, unfortunately, it's going to be sooner than we'd like, at least, as it says that shoppers have been warned to watch their wallets in the second half of 2025, with costs expected to rise by, wait for this, over 4%. And yes, I know a lot of people out there will be saying something like, "Oh really? Well, 4% isn't much, is it? Oh, I hate the smug one." Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was once upon a time a few years ago, before COVID reared its ugly head, where cucumbers cost something like 30 pence, and now of course they are, what, about 90 pence? I think we were told that food prices had gone up by, was it 15 or 20%? Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds like more than that to me, especially if it trebled. So this 4% can actually end up being something like 40%, and therefore will kick our wallets gonads harder than the telling off, shall we say, that Trump kind of gave to Zelensky. But anyway, breakfast items have been the most noticeably hit by the skyrocketing cost to produce food in the UK. And alongside, it says the staple breads, eggs, butter and cheese, cereals and coffee is also set to continue to steadily rise in the coming months. So hang on a minute, what is the excuse for another rise? Well, it says that the British Retail Consortium, the BRC CEO Helen Dickinson, said inflation would likely rise across the board as the year progresses, and the reasons for this are apparently geographical tensions running high. I wonder what tensions that could be, eh? An imminent £7 billion increase in costs from the autumn budget, Dickinson said. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure £7 billion worth of extra costs, which, let's face it, is going to be passed on to us poor people, more than likely anyway, is actually, whether Labour like it or not, hitting us in the pockets, when they kind of, if I remember rightly, said that we wouldn't face any such costs. But anyway, she continued though and says we expect food prices to be up 4% over the second half of the year. And if the government wants to keep inflation at bay, then enable retailers to focus on growth and help households. It must mitigate the swathe of costs facing the industry. It can start though by ensuring no shop ends up paying more than they already do under the new business rate proposals and delaying the new packaging taxes. Well, this is where Rachel Reeves really does need to borrow all the Labour brain cells that she can muster, all three of them perhaps, and actually do something to stop all this from happening, apart from, of course, following the rest of the Labour Party and, well, it appears kind of giving all our money to either Ukraine or other foreign projects like the £11 billion climate emergency or whatever it is that Ed Miliband wants to spend that on. And get this, Mike Watkins, the NIQ head of Retailer and Business Insight, says food inflation is set to push shoppers towards using more retailer loyalty scheme discounts. Well done, that man. That must have been very hard for him to work out. Unfortunately, though, it does surely mean that you'll obviously be required to sign up to those loyalty cards in the first place. And if you don't want to do that, then I guess you're kind of screwed. Which, let's face it, in this day and age, we shouldn't have to be forced to sign up to these things. If supermarkets had any sense at all, they'd do lower prices across the board, and then surely more people would go towards them, eh? He said, though, with many household bills increasing over the next few weeks, shoppers will be looking carefully at their discretionary spend, and this may help keep prices lower at non-food retailers. However, the increase in food inflation is likely to encourage even more shoppers to seek out the savings available from supermarket loyalty schemes. The thing is that it does feel, doesn't it, that supermarkets and other places in general do like a crisis, whether it's the cost of living crisis or the pandemic, and more recently, of course, the whole Ukraine situation with Russia. Any excuse it seems to put up prices means they more than likely will do, whether they need to or not. And admittedly, yes, I could be wrong with that, but that is the way it seems to me, and I guess quite a lot of other people out there. Either way, though, this unfortunately doesn't look like it's going to get over anytime soon, and is surely only going to get worse unless the government steps in and kind of does something to mitigate the situation. Although, let's face it, I don't know about you, but I've got a feeling that will unfortunately be quite a long shot, especially of course when it seems that all he wants to do is send our boys to Ukraine.